most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. These words are not just a statement about inner truth. They are the entrance to transformation. But why does it feel as though just before everything changes, you are dragged through darkness, confusion, and silence? Why do so many people report that the moment they are closest to breakthrough, they are tested the hardest? If this has happened to you, then stop and comment below. You are not alone. You are on the edge of the very thing you've been praying for. There is a principle you must understand about the nature of reality, and it is this: the universe does not give you what you want. It reveals who you are. And when you ask for something greater, something brighter, something that stretches your potential, it is not handed to you like a gift. Instead, it is awakened within you like a storm. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it must ensure you are not only prepared for your new reality, but that you have become the kind of person who belongs in it. Let me put it another way. If you ask to be stronger, you are not given strength. You are given situations that require you to be strong. If you ask for love, you are not just handed a partner. You are shown all the ways you do not yet love yourself. If you ask for peace, the chaos in your mind begins to surface so that you may confront it. These are not punishments. They are tests. And the purpose of the test is not to break you, but to break away everything that no longer belongs in the life you are trying to create. Many people quit in the middle of the test because they misinterpret it, and they believe the pain is a sign that the universe said no. They believe the delay is denial. But the truth is far more beautiful and far more dangerous. The universe is not denying you, it is preparing you. And preparation often looks like chaos to the untrained eye, like rejection, like abandonment, like failure. But to the awakened soul, these are sacred signs. The storm means the soil is fertile. The breakdown means the ego is being rearranged. The silence means the old self is dying. You must remember that the psyche is not linear. It is not interested in logic or efficiency. It is symbolic, archetypal, mythic. When your outer world begins to collapse, it is often because your inner world is realigning. The tower must fall so the temple can rise. The ego must surrender so the soul can lead. And so the universe tests you with mirrors, people who trigger your wounds, events that test your patience, delays that stretch your trust. These are not blocks. They are gateways, and the question is not, why is this happening? But who am I becoming through this? When you are being tested, everything will seem personal. You will feel targeted, exposed, but that is because the test is not external, it is internal. The universe is asking you, do you really believe in what you say you want, or are you still loyal to your fear, your wounds, your identity as the victim? It will present you with choices. Do you speak your truth or stay silent? Do you choose alignment or approval? Do you take the leap or cling to the familiar? Each choice is a vote for your future. Each moment of discomfort is a fire refining your vision. The test is never about others. It is always about you. It is not about whether they accept you, but whether you will stop betraying yourself for acceptance. It is not about whether they stay, but whether you will finally choose yourself even when you are alone. It is not about whether it happens fast, but whether you are willing to endure long enough for the seed to grow into something real. Most people abandon the process just before the miracle, because they confuse resistance with rejection. But in truth, the resistance is where the magic happens. It is where your old reality gasps its last breath. You must understand that energy precedes form. That which you desire exists on a vibrational level long before it appears in your physical world. But in order to receive it, you must become a match for it. And becoming a match means shedding the parts of you that cannot go with you. The relationships, the addictions, the beliefs, the stories, all of it must be questioned, because you cannot hold on to your old self and step into your new life at the same time. One must die, and that death feels like loss. but it is sacred. The test often looks like contradiction. You ask for abundance and lose your job. You ask for healing and your deepest wounds reopen. You ask for clarity and everything becomes uncertain. But look deeper. Losing the job freed you from a cage you were too afraid to leave. The reopening of wounds gave you access to pain you had buried and now could finally heal. The uncertainty forced you to stop outsourcing your power and begin listening to your intuition. The test was not to punish, it was to prepare. The pain was not the end, it was the threshold. And let us not forget the shadow. The universe does not only test you with light, it also tests you with your own darkness. It brings to the surface your jealousy, your anger, your envy, your shame, not to shame you, but to show you what still controls you, what still lives in your unconscious, what still has the power to distort your reality. These are not things to avoid, they are invitations. You cannot escape the fire, you must walk through it. You must become aware of every place you still abandon yourself, betray yourself, silence yourself, because you cannot lie your way into authenticity. And so the question becomes, when the test arrives, will you recognize it, or will you run? Will you numb? Will you distract? Or will you pause and say, this is it. This is the moment I choose to evolve instead of repeat. This is the moment I choose to respond instead of react. The test is not meant to be passed with perfection, but with presence, with self-honesty, with courage. And when you stop seeing it as a punishment and start seeing it as preparation, you step into your power. Because when the universe tests you, it is not asking for compliance, it is calling for transformation. It wants to see if you can hold your vision, even when everything looks like it's falling apart. It wants to know if you can stay soft while walking through fire. It wants to know if you can speak light into your darkness, if you can trust what you cannot yet see, if you can love yourself even when the world withdraws its approval. And if you pass the test not by force, but by surrender, you will feel something shift, not immediately, not always dramatically, but deeply. The old patterns will no longer seduce you. The people who once had power over you will feel distant. The habits that once numbed you will lose their taste. And slowly, reality will bend, opportunities will emerge, synchronicities will align. Not because the universe changed, but because you did. You will become a new vessel. And in that vessel, the universe will pour the life you asked for, not because it was finally ready to give it to you, but because you were finally ready to receive it. If you are still here, then you are likely in the middle of your test right now. Perhaps things around you are unraveling. Perhaps you've prayed, journaled, meditated, visualized, and yet everything feels worse than before. The truth is, this is not the collapse of your manifestation. This is the collapse of the illusions you could not bring into your new reality. The breakdown is the bridge, and though it feels cruel, it is the deepest form of love. The universe is not trying to harm you. It is trying to extract the parts of you that were built in fear, so that what is built in truth can finally emerge. This is why most people never truly change, because change requires death. And most people are more loyal to the familiarity of suffering than they are to the uncertainty of growth. They would rather remain in the pain they know than risk the unknown joy they've only imagined. But not you. If you've come this far, it means your soul is ready. Ready to burn through the fog. Ready to outgrow its cage. Ready to rise without needing permission from the part of you that still lives in the past. The universe will test you with silence, with time, with the nothingness between the old world and the new, and that silence will tempt you to believe that nothing is happening, that you were foolish to believe, that you were wrong to let go of what you outgrew. But you must understand that silence is not absence. It is incubation. The seed is not dead just because it is underground. The caterpillar is not gone just because it is in the cocoon. The silence is sacred. It is where your energy is recalibrating. It is where the old frequencies dissolve. It is where your identity loses grip on who you used to be. If you rush this process, you will interrupt the alchemy. If you force clarity too soon, you will build your next reality on a distorted blueprint. The silence is not there to punish you. It is there to teach you how to listen, to trust, to remain still when your ego screams for action. That is the test. Can you be faithful in the void? Can you hold your vibration steady when the outer world gives you no reward for doing so? Because only then does the universe know you are not manifesting out of desperation, but from alignment. There is another form of testing when you are offered a counterfeit version of what you want: a job, a person, an opportunity that looks good on the surface, but feels misaligned in your soul. This is not just a distraction, it is a test. The universe is asking, will you betray your intuition for quick comfort? Will you compromise your growth for convenience? Will you settle for less than you asked for, simply because you are afraid of being alone a little longer? This is why self-awareness is essential, because without it, you will call every trigger a trauma, every delay a disaster, and every challenge a curse. But when you awaken, you begin to see with new eyes. You recognize that every person who irritates you is your shadow, showing up with a face. Every moment of doubt is your old conditioning gasping for air. Every door that closes is divine protection, even when it breaks your heart. But here's the paradox: you cannot just think your way through the test. You must feel your way through it. You must allow the grief to rise, the rage, the fear. You must cry when your soul aches. You must scream if you must, because these are not signs of weakness, they are signs of birth. Emotional processing is not regression, it is evolution in motion. And the deeper you allow yourself to feel, the freer you become from the unconscious patterns that once dictated your reality. One of the most painful tests of all is the test of self-worth. The universe will put you in situations where you must choose yourself again and again, even when nobody else does. You will have to walk away from things you prayed for simply because they came in the wrong energy. You will have to say no when your inner child is begging for yes. You will have to affirm your value in rooms where your silence was once mistaken for submission. Because until you choose yourself, the universe cannot choose you either. Who's you? You see, it is not that the universe is outside you, testing your soul like a cruel examiner. The universe is within you, co-creating this experience, designing the conditions necessary for you to remember who you are, and you are not weak. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are becoming more honest, more resilient, more conscious. The test is simply a sacred mirror reflecting what is unfinished in you. And when you pass it, it does not mean life becomes easy. It means you have become someone who no longer needs ease to trust the path. People ask me often, why must it be this hard? Why can't the universe just give me what I desire without all the pain? And to that I say, because if you received it without transformation, you would not be able to hold it. You would sabotage it, abandon it. You would filter it through the wounds you refused to heal. And so the test is grace in disguise. It is the universe protecting you from premature blessings. It is saying, not until you are ready to become who this version of life demands you to be. This is why initiation always begins with crisis. Why every great myth begins in the underworld. Why the spiritual awakening begins with loss, confusion, anxiety, despair. Because that is the moment you leave the known world behind. That is the moment your ego realizes it is no longer in control. That is the moment your soul whispers, now we begin. And if you stay the course not perfectly, but consciously, you will emerge reborn. You will no longer beg for crumbs. You will no longer seek validation from the asleep. You will no longer confuse comfort with alignment, you will know yourself. And in knowing yourself, you will co-create with the universe instead of constantly fighting it. You will live in harmony with the tests instead of resenting them. You will move with the seasons of your life instead of clinging to what is already dead. But make no mistake, the test is ongoing. Every time you expand, the universe will ask again, "Are you sure?" Not because it doubts you, but because it wants you to become so rooted in your new self that nothing can take it from you. Not opinions, not failure, not loneliness, not even fear. Because in the end, reality does not bend to those who merely wish for change. It bends to those who are willing to die for their transformation. So if you are tired, I understand. If you are scared, I understand. If you feel like giving up, I understand. But I ask you to pause, to breathe, to remember that this moment is not the end of your story. It is the fire that forges your becoming. And just when you think you cannot go any further, that is when the shift begins. The pain will give way to purpose. The silence will turn into song. The emptiness will overflow with meaning. And you will look back and realize the test was never a punishment. It was your soul asking, one final time, are you ready to become who you were always meant to be? And this time, finally, you answered, yes.